You think your Toyota is fine. The car still moves normally, the steering does not seem strange, the dashboard is quiet, and the tires still look acceptable from a distance. That is exactly why this mistake lasts so long. It hides behind a number that feels safe, familiar, and almost untouchable. For many drivers, that number is 32 psi. They use it automatically because they have heard it so many times that it starts to sound like truth. But what if the number you trust most is the one quietly shortening the life of your tires? What if the pressure that feels normal is the very thing making your Toyota pay the price mile after mile? That is what makes this problem so dangerous. Most tire mistakes do not begin with drama. They do not always begin with a flat tire, a violent pull, or an obvious warning light. Sometimes the tire still looks full enough. Sometimes the car still feels stable enough. Sometimes nothing seems urgent at all. And that false calm makes people repeat the same mistake again and again. Sounds safe, doesn't it? That is how tire life disappears in silence. Not because the driver wanted to damage the tires, but because the pressure habit felt too normal to question. For Toyota owners, this becomes even more deceptive because the vehicle often feels composed even when the tires are not working at their best. The car can still seem smooth, predictable, and balanced while the tread begins wearing in the wrong way. That is the part many drivers never notice early enough. The damage often starts long before the tire looks obviously bad. The wear starts building slowly. The efficiency starts slipping quietly. The rolling resistance changes a little. The contact with the road changes a little. The tire begins spending its life under conditions that are close enough to feel acceptable, but wrong enough to become expensive over time. And that is where the trap closes. Most people do not react to small changes. They react to obvious problems. If the car still feels fine, they keep going. If the TPMS light stays off, they assume everything is okay. If the tire is not visibly low, they do not think twice. But fine is not the same as right. Fine is not the same as efficient. Fine is not the same as even tread wear. A tire can feel normal and still be losing value every single day. Have you ever looked at a tire and assumed that normal meant healthy? That assumption is costing more Toyota owners than they realize. The number 32 psi became powerful for one simple reason. It sounds reasonable. It sounds balanced. It sounds like the kind of number that should work for almost everything. People hear it from other drivers, from old habits, from random advice, from tire shops, from conversations that get repeated without being tested. After a while, it stops sounding like a guess and starts sounding like a rule. That is how bad habits become standard behavior. But your Toyota is not a rumor. Your tires are not living inside a shortcut. Your daily driving is real, and real driving punishes lazy assumptions. Your Toyota deals with traffic, road imperfections, heat, cooler mornings, passenger weight, cargo, longer trips, short trips, potholes, stop-and-go movement, and surfaces that change from one day to the next. That means tire pressure should never be treated like a universal superstition. A number that sounds safe in conversation can still be wrong in real use. And if it is wrong often enough, the result shows up where it hurts most. Shorter tread life, uneven wear, less efficiency, and more money leaving your pocket sooner than expected. Strange how something so small can become so expensive, isn't it? This is why many drivers replace tires earlier than they should and never understand the real cause. They blame the tire brand. They blame the road. They blame bad luck. They blame quality. But sometimes the problem has been there the whole time, hiding inside a pressure habit they never questioned. If the shoulders are wearing sooner, if the vehicle feels slightly heavier rolling down the road, if fuel economy seems a little worse, if the tires never last what you thought they would, the pressure deserves far more suspicion than most people give it. And the worst part is that the mistake can continue for months while the driver still believes everything is under control. The illusion becomes stronger because the error is usually not dramatic. It is subtle. That makes it easy to ignore. A little more wear here, a little more drag there, a little less life from the tread, a little more money gone at replacement time. One day does not reveal the truth. Repetition does. That is why blind pressure habits are so destructive. Not because they ruin a tire in one afternoon, but because they slowly train the tire to live the wrong life. And once that happens, the tire cannot argue with you. It can only wear. A lot of Toyota owners also put too much faith in the door jamb sticker without understanding what it really is. They treat it like a perfect answer for every situation, every route, every load, every climate, and every tire condition. But that sticker is a reference point, not a living decision maker. It does not know how you actually drive. It does not know whether you spend your week in heavy traffic, whether you carry extra weight, whether your roads are rough, or how your current tires are behaving after thousands of miles of real use. And if you follow any number blindly without watching what the tread is actually telling you, you can still wear out your Toyota's tires earlier than necessary. This is where many drivers get uncomfortable, because they want tire pressure to be simple. They want one permanent number, one easy habit, one answer they never have to revisit. That would be convenient. But convenience is exactly what creates expensive myths. The truth is that tires respond to real conditions, not to wishful thinking. If your pressure routine is built more on repetition than observation, then your tires may already be paying for that laziness. Not emotionally, not dramatically, financially, quietly, consistently. And that kind of loss is the easiest one to ignore until the bill shows up. Then there is the TPMS trap. Many drivers assume that if the light is off, the tires must be in a healthy zone. That belief sounds logical, but it creates a false sense of security. The TPMS is not there to protect every bit of tread life. It is not there to optimize how evenly your tires wear. It is not there to fine-tune real-world efficiency. It is there to warn you when pressure drops enough to become a more serious concern. That is not the same as telling you the tires are set correctly for your Toyota's real daily conditions. So when drivers wait for the dashboard to tell them something is wrong, they are often waiting too long. If the warning comes late, how much tread was already sacrificed before the light had anything to say? That question matters because most people check the dashboard more than they check the tread. They trust the panel more than the tire itself. But the tread tells the truth earlier. The tread reveals whether the tire is living well or dying early. The tread shows whether the pressure is helping or hurting. And yet many drivers do not inspect it closely enough to catch the pattern before the damage becomes expensive. They trust habit. They trust convenience. They trust a number that feels safe because it is common. But common does not mean correct, and familiar does not mean harmless. The biggest lie behind 32 psi is not that the number is always wrong. The biggest lie is that it is automatically right just because so many people use it. That is the real danger. People stop thinking. They stop observing. They stop asking whether their Toyota, their tires, and their real driving routine are actually matched to that number. Once that question disappears, the mistake becomes invisible. And invisible mistakes are the ones that last the longest. A small PSI error repeated for weeks becomes tread life lost. Repeated for months, it becomes uneven wear that should never have happened. Repeated long enough, it becomes an early replacement bill that feels unfair, even though the warning signs were there all along. This is why so many drivers feel shocked when their tires wear out sooner than expected. They thought they were being careful. They thought they were being responsible. They thought using a familiar number meant they were doing the smart thing. But sometimes the most repeated advice is the very thing leading people in the wrong direction. Have you ever followed a habit for so long that it stopped feeling like a choice? That is exactly what happens here. The pressure routine becomes automatic. And once it becomes automatic, nobody wants to challenge it. Because if the car still seems normal, questioning the habit feels unnecessary. But this is where the smartest Toyota owners separate themselves from the careless ones. They understand that tire pressure is not about memorizing a popular number. It is about how the tire is actually wearing, how the vehicle is actually responding, and whether the current routine is producing the result it should. If it is not, then the habit deserves blame, no matter how normal it sounds. So the next time 32 psi feels like the easy answer, stop for a second and ask a harder question. Are your tires actually wearing correctly, or do they only look normal at a glance? Is your Toyota truly rolling the way it should, or have you just gotten used to the current feel? Are you protecting the full life of the tire or only avoiding obvious problems? Those questions make people uncomfortable, but they save money. Because the drivers who keep ignoring them usually learn the truth only when the tread is already gone sooner than it should be. And that is the point most people miss. Tire pressure is not just about avoiding disaster. It is about avoiding silent loss of tread, silent loss of efficiency, silent loss of money, silent loss of the tire life you already paid for. If 32 psi is not truly right for your Toyota, then repeating it blindly is not safe maintenance. It is slow damage wearing a familiar face, and once you see it that way, it becomes a lot harder to trust a number just because everyone else keeps saying it. If this made you rethink the way you set tire pressure on your Toyota, stay with the channel, because the mistakes that look harmless are often the ones costing drivers the most. And at the end of the day, the tire never lies. The wear always tells the story.